You are now tuned into Flippin' the Birds, a Philly Sports Network podcast.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome all to episode 47 of Flippin' the Birds. I'm Brian Cameron. He's Chris Infante, and today we're joined by a very, very special person, not only in Philadelphia, but I'm pretty sure even opposing teams were fans of this man. 9-time Pro Bowler, Hall of Famer, Brian Dawkins. How you doing today, Brian?
Bless, brother. Well, I hope they weren't fans. I really, honestly hope they hated me, so that means I was doing my job. I hope they respected me, but I hope they hated me.
I'm pretty sure you're very well respected around the league by anybody. I mean, you've had a phenomenal career on and off the field. I mean, just you as a person, your family, like you're the example and the standard set by how a man should carry himself.
No, I appreciate it. I really do. The way that I carry myself is first for my family. I want to make sure that I'm representing my family, my household the right way, my children, my son the right way, and also, the God that I serve. I want to make sure that I'm a representative of Him and how He has given me so many different gifts, so many different abilities. I want to all those point back to my Heavenly Father. So that's the main ingredient. And why I live my life the way that I live my life, that I listen more than I talk. I try my best to anyway. I try my best to listen more than I talk. Listen, but I'm also watching a lot. Listening to what people say, what they have to say, and then I allow that into me, and then I respond accordingly. So that's a little bit. I don't want to get too forward to that conversation. I'm pretty sure we'll get into something as we continue to go on. But I'm really blessed to be where I am, and I know that, and I don't take that for granted.
Amen to that. How you feeling today, Chris?
It's surreal. It's surreal. I had my little fanboy moment before the podcast, so it's incredible.
It's all good, brother. It's all good.
But yeah, so we're bringing Brian on today to talk about his foundation. We have some questions from Eagles fans pertaining to the team and season on, but we'll get to that later. This is really about the Brian Dawkins Impact Foundation and what it means to Brian, what it means to the Jacksonville community, the Philadelphia community, and hopefully soon the Clemson community. If you could tell everybody about the Impact Foundation, why did you start it, and what do you hope to achieve with the foundation?
The Brian Dawkins Impact Foundation was started in 2019. It took a little while to get all the paperwork and everything all completely finalized, but there's no coincidence that it happened to actually get going this year. And our initial thrust into it has been with cerebral wellness. I talk about cerebral wellness. I don't talk about mental health or mental illness because that's too much of a negative connotation. I want to kind of chop away at it. So I call it cerebral wellness as the program is called. And, the reason why it really came into fruition is because this is something I wanted to do. A part of my foundation, it's called the Brian Dawkins value packages. And they're going to be different packages that we're going to present or be able to give to different high schools and communities. It just so happened that the first one that I felt led to do was with cerebral wellness or cerebral health or however you want to talk about it. It's important for us to have this conversation of something that we all have. Like, we all have mental health. Not all of us have mental illness, but all of us have mental health. And so as much as we can begin to separate the two, the better we'll be able to handle these things and deal with the things and knock the stigma completely down, because there's too many people going through too much suffrage in their minds and in their thoughts that they don't come out and talk about the things that are going on in their lives. And that's detrimental to us. We're supposed to be able to talk to someone, whether it's your counselor, whether it's your parent, whether it's a pastor. Like, you have to be able to talk to someone, good friend, no matter who it is, we have to be able to get things off of us. And one of mine is obviously prayer, because I'm a man of faith, but we have to be able to do these things. So after I had my Hall of Fame speech, and how many people have hit me in my DMs, man, how many people have talked about going into depths about some of the things they've gone through in their lives. When it pertains to even some of them thinking about suicide and telling me about some of the things that they were planning to do. So like, it really hit me and struck me that, you know what, this is something that I need to really step out into, and to help break down the stigma, so we can get some people to be able to talk about some things. And so, you know, a part of my foundation is going to be going towards single moms and their kids, to help them out of their situations. But the initial thrust into this has been this, you know, mental health or cerebral wellness package, because of what I felt, because of like I said, the feedback that I've been getting. And so many dudes and so many men, man, have been opening up in tears, as I even talking to people on the street about that Hall of Fame speech, and how I was able to help them get the help that they need. So I want to continue that on, not just with men. I want men absolutely to continue to talk up, but let's see if we can now reach back and begin to bless these youngsters in school. I call them youngsters, so my dad calls us youngsters. So the youngsters back in school, so that we can begin to give them the tools that they need earlier than hitting 30 or hitting 40, and then still dealing with all that baggage during that, or not knowing how to deal with all that baggage, and then have that wreck households and you start to do other things like drinking and doing drugs and being promiscuous, even trying to silence those voices in your head. No, let's begin to deal with some things early in their lives, giving them the tools, some of the resources they need to be able to talk about, learn, first of all, how to talk about things, get things out, and then have some of the things that you can use to help you go through life, man. And so some of the things in the program that we are sponsoring is giving them those resources, those the ability to then cope. They call them coping mechanisms. That's the word I was looking for. Coping mechanisms to help people, not just young adults. This is for everybody. Now, because I honestly use some of the things that they've suggested to use. I've already been using them. So some of the things in there, when you have these and you have these things as problem solvers, you no longer have the problem for long. The problem may exist for a little while, but once you get an answer, just like you have a test, a math test, you have a problem. But if you know the answer to that problem, it's no longer a problem because you have the answer to it. So once we begin to give these young adults these answers and they can begin to apply them, you knock down that stigma so they're talking more, then we can chop away at this suicide rate that is way, way too high. It's the leading ages, I believe it was ages from ages 15 to 34, suicide is the highest during that age group. That's way too much. But the symptoms, the suicide symptoms, are just that, the symptoms, the things that have happened. So we can then reverse that over time when you get the proper help.
And I really admire that. Not only just because obviously you're Brian Dawkins, but just as a father, as a man of the man of your household, to kind of just go out there and say, like, one of the steps of the solution is just to talk. Just to be vocal about everything that's that's going on in your head, because as men, we tend to hold everything inside because we have the
macho, we gotta
macho.
be those macho men, It's something like, as Brian was saying, like, I'm a father as well. I have a 7-month-old, and it's growing up in the Bronx. That's something we were taught really to do, is speak about our feelings. As the hood that I grew up around, it was just, people were just hard, and if you talked about your feelings, then you're not a man, and back then when I was 10, 11, those were the man years, and because those were when people were being initiated in gangs. around those times, and it's, if you were sad or anything, no one wanted to hear about it. So just growing up, even I moved out of there when I was 13, but even after that, I've always been someone to hold my feelings in, because I always thought, you know what, I don't want to voice it because I'm supposed to be this guy. I'm supposed to be the
You're supposed to be the brick wall in the house.
Right. Yeah. I'm supposed to be that wall that it doesn't get broken. And that led to a lot of stuff for me, but it's something I've been working on. But it's that's what all your words definitely speak to both of us. And it's definitely something we need to battle at a young age, like you said, because when you start at a young age, that's what you're setting up success for the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you mentioned something. I want to correct myself. It's from ages 10 to 34, and it's the second leading cause of death during that, for young adults. I guess we can call them young adults. But you just said something. So, growing up where I grew up as well, tough environment in Jacksonville, Florida, not the toughest, in America, but it's very tough. And there's a certain mindset you have to present yourself in such a way as don't mess with me, right? Mm-hmm. So so you have to have that attitude about yourself. But there's times and places that you don't want to say that this is what I'm feeling, right? Mm-hmm. But then there has to be a point, a safe haven, some place that you can go to talk about your feelings, though, to get that stuff up off of you. There's things that I have seen that I didn't know how to deal with. I lost 2 friends to the violence in the streets. 2. One of them when I was like in the 8th grade, and the other one when I was a sophomore in college. But also in the neighborhood, a couple of guys that were older than me, got shot up, and he was paralyzed from the waist down. One of the biggest drug dealers was a friend of mine. His whole family got shot. They came in to get him, and killed him. And so the family was traumatized from that. But we knew about it. We heard it. So these are things you don't know how to deal with. I don't know how to deal with that type of stuff. I've seen some other things too, but you don't have to know how to deal with that stuff. Had I known what I know now about some of the things that I know now of who to talk to, first of all, recognizing those individuals that are in your life, that God puts, I believe He puts certain individuals in all of our lives at different times, so we can have those proper conversations with them about what's going on with us, proper channels, so to speak. And then having the if I would have had the coping mechanisms to be able to deal with some of the things that I saw, I would not have had some of the emotions that I had during the day in the classroom, just being emotional all of a sudden, and not knowing why. That's because I was dealing with trauma. Mm-hmm. And so when you are in the lower income places, these type of topics aren't brought. These type of solutions aren't given. So in order for us to have the ability to do it, the foundation that is, we are asking for help for us to then sponsor schools so that it will be in your schools. And then you can go and do some of it right here on your phone. There's a program by LinkedIn. That's the doggone. That's not. Everify. I was just on LinkedIn. That's what it was. Everify, that has a comprehensive, interactive platform that you can go on, that kids can go on, and you can learn as you go. Different story modes and different programs. You can learn about different things that can help you, whatever you're going through. And they have different scenarios. One of them is, my parents are getting divorced. I don't know what to do, or my mom is on drugs. So there's different scenarios that are in there. And then they give you some of the things that you can do to cope. This is what I'm talking about. Some real life instances of people going through some tough stuff, and then answers being given for kids to be able to deal with life, man. Life throws so much at us. And so when you have that, first of all, I believe that by doing this, you would give individuals the notion, the understanding, and the comfort to know that there is someone that cares about them. Mm-hmm. like even in the midst of all of this stuff that I'm seeing, all of this stuff, all the pressure that the peers are throwing, all the whatever's going on, there is someone that cares about me enough to give us these type of resources to help me through these things. And it's a fluid thing too. This is the first edition of it. If I then get suggestions to say, hey, you might want to do things this way or change this in that way, how about offering this type of story? Boom, we're going to change these things up. So this is the first edition of it. So it's a fluid thing because we want this thing to continue to grow and continue to be a resource that is actually beneficial to people. Not just something that I'm doing because, hey, I want to do it, look at me. It's not about look at me. This is not about look at me. This is about how can I bless them? How can we bless them? How can we bless them to live a life much different than the life that they see around them? Seeing outside of that, being, having the opportunity and gaining some of the wisdom, the knowledge, in order to use it as wisdom later on down in their lives.
Now, like EverFi is a great program. I've used it for teaching, with the whole teaching from home thing that went on from March to June. EverFi was one of my outlets. I'm a physical education teacher. It's just something that I've touched on with my students in the past and everything. Why EverFi instead of other programs out there?
Well, it just so happened that first of all, as you hear me talk, you won't hear me say luck. You won't hear me say coincident. I don't believe in that. I believe that there's blessings, and I was blessed to come across EverFi at a speaking engagement that I had in New York. I was up in New York. I was speaking at a conference held by Beyond Sport, who's actually running my foundation, Beyond Sport. And so I was speaking, giving my testimony, so to speak, about my life, what I have gone through when it comes to mental health. And I just so happened to run into EverFi. Love the brief presentation that I was given. I then looked some things up for myself, and I said, you know what? I believe this is a platform. They have programs that can be doctored up in such a way as to reach a lot of young people with these things here. Phones. Every young cat and catette is learning from these gadgets right here. So I thought that would be a very beneficial partnership to see about the check-in. And so that's why EverFi is on board, first of all. And, they were someone that, again, I just so happened to be blessed to come across because we were both in the same field, in the same building, talking about some of the same things, and that's helping young adults.
That's phenomenal. And just to kind of dial back, right now in the country, we're dealing with something, that there's a lot of pressure from all different angles with everything that's going on. So not only for the youth, but even for the older folks, where our cerebral health right now is as vital as it can ever be. What was a turning point for you? Because I know reading up on your story, you were dealing with it in your rookie year. That's when you kind of took notice of the darkness, to say. What was a turning point for you in believing that, hey, I got to step out of this, and you know what, I'm going to take this by the horns and I'm going to lead people into the right light?
Well, there's a couple of different questions in one right there. So the first question, so to speak, is what was the turning point? So it was when my rookie year, when I couldn't basically take it anymore. I was having so many thoughts going on in my life. I was drinking a lot heavier than I usually do to cope with some of the feelings that I wasn't talking about, wasn't letting out. I had pressure and pull from family members from one end that were needing things, that were wanting things and needing things that I just couldn't give. And I didn't know how to say no at the time. And then my team is pulling on me. They're expecting me to be this specific individual from what my film has shown that I can be. I'm Emmett. My uncle Emmett, my coach, was, he was very hard on me, tough on me, because he saw something in me that I did not see. And then my family, young family, newlywed. Brian was my son, was colicky, crying all the time. We weren't getting a lot of sleep. So that's a lot of stuff going on. And then again, first of all, I was not talking. So I had already a lot of stuff built up and pent up from me growing up. And so, once that last outburst happened of me, basically running my head through a wall, it was like, you got to get some help. And Emmett and Connie, my wife, my beautiful wife, they got together, the tag teamed on me. And they pushed me and urged me to go get help. And I did. I knew I needed some type of help. But in those sessions, man, I began to really look at how much I had pent up in me that I had not told anybody about ever. And all of those things, it's just like when you have a pot and you can turn on that boiling water and you do not have any way for that pot to get some of that steam out, it's going to pop. Something's going to pop, like it's going to explode or something. And all it takes is sometimes somebody asking a small questions or making you angry a little bit, and all of a sudden you pour out all of that on that person. So that's where you have to, now you're in the position of saying, I'm sorry about this, such and that, or you may do something that you can't say I'm sorry for. It may be something so bad that you get locked up for. And all that is because of what? Not opening up, not sharing your thoughts, not sharing your emotions, again, with the right people, getting some of that stuff out. Now, where I am now, I understand the significance of having the right people around me, first of all. I have a blessed pack, at least four cats that I can call at any time. And we will talk about real stuff. So whatever's going on with me, I know that I can reach out to these dudes. First of all, they're going to listen to me. They're not going to judge me. They're going to listen. And then we're going to pray together. They're going to help me try to come up with something. So that's freeing in itself, because I know I'm never alone. I know that I have somebody here that I can call and talk to. Obviously, my prayer life has increased exponentially as well. But I'm just talking about from a practical standpoint when it comes to friends. I have specific individuals in my life. I call them my blessed pack that I can call, and we can shoot real to one another. Man, that's a powerful thing. Bible talks about iron sharpening iron. That's what it is for me. I have dudes that even if I'm doing something wrong, I expect them to be like, hey, no, you can't, no, that's messed up. Don't do that. You can't do that. You know what I'm saying? I expect that. I expect that rubbing. If you sharpen a piece of iron, what do you have to do? There's going to be some friction. So I expect them to shoot me real. I don't expect them to just be yes men, telling me what they think I want to hear. No, I expect them to tell me what's going on, what's real, what's fake, and the like, but also to pray with me.
That's phenomenal.
That's absolutely incredible. And in starting up this foundation, what difficulties have you been met with in launching in Jacksonville and now you're coming up in Philadelphia? Have you met any difficulties in doing so, other than the fundraising of the money or anything like that?
I think the greatest thing is I would just say sometimes when you're trying to bring something that is foreign to some, they may look at it as just another something somebody is trying to throw at us, right? And this is not one of those things. This is something that is coming from a special place in my heart, because I know, once again, what I've been through as a youth, and I knew what I have gone through as an adult. And some of the things that I've gone through as an adult has been for some of the things I didn't deal with when I was a youth. And so I'm coming from that perspective to be able to hope to prayerfully bless young adults and their parents. That's the other thing I'm praying, that parents also get online to look at this stuff, because there's things in it. I'm telling you, there's things in it that will help anybody who applies it to their lives. Like breathing, talks about breathing, talks about naming your emotion, talks about reframing your thoughts, your thought pattern. This is something that everybody can do. It's not just for young adults, it's for any and everybody. But I would just say that's, because it's not familiar, and sometimes I guess some individuals have used foundations wrongly, that sometimes it takes a little bit for someone to completely buy in. I'll just say it like that, for really completely buy in to someone genuinely wanting to do this from the depths of their heart to bless young adults, young people. And this is also something that we're not saying that we're going to replace teachers. No, we're trying to come along your teacher. We're trying to come alongside teachers to give them some information or give them some scenarios that they can go further and talk about some things. So we're trying to empower not only the kids, not only their parents, but also the teachers when it comes to this.
Right, and from my experience, I right now I don't teach in an urban area. I teach in a pretty wealthy area, but before then, that's not to say my kids don't have issues. They have mental health stuff too. Parents not being home, they're out working all day, they're getting picked up by the babysitter every day. But before that, I spent 5 years in a very urban area in Teaneck, New Jersey, which is right outside New York City, and I can tell you firsthand how many teachers definitely would have needed the support of a foundation like this, because we had so many students. I had so many athletes. I was a track and field coach down there that just, they wanted to go on to the team just to hang out, because they didn't want to be at home, because once they went home, it was either their parents are shouting at them, they weren't good enough and all that stuff. And I'm trying to talk to these kids, and they didn't want to open up. And then these kids, they didn't want to open up, because for the boys, it's not man enough, and for the girls, it's I'm a man, I'm not going to understand, what they're going through, even though, I grew up in the Bronx. It's not a neighborhood not too much unlike Teaneck. You can talk, and a lot of these kids did not want to open up, and then that would lead to kids quitting football teams, basketball teams, because they just went out on the street with their buddies. It led to early pregnancies for some of these girls that they just saw other outlets to do that. So I know firsthand how incredible this type of program would be for teachers, not only just for students, because a lot of these teachers put this burden on themselves, like, why can't I reach out to this? Why can't I reach to this kid? And sometimes that hurts the teacher. They go home and like, why couldn't I relate to this student? And then maybe sometimes these teachers say, well, it's my fault that they went down this path, which is not fair to these teachers, because they're trying to do whatever they can to help. So definitely a program, and if any teachers out there listening, this program would definitely be a real asset to a school.
And to give you the in and outs of it, like, I went through the program myself. I took it myself. I went through it meticulously, and I answered the questions, and I went through it again. There are some things that are going to change, the next time around. But like, this first draft is to bring some things to light. It talks about the science of how what mental health really is. It tries to then break down the stigma of mental health, and then it gives you those coping mechanisms, and then it allows you then to go into a space of how to recognize things going on with your friends, and how to recognize things that are going on with yourselves, and then most importantly, how to get help. How to then get help. So throughout the whole thing, there's always the availability of the different numbers that you can call, anonymous numbers that you can call to have conversations with people, trained professionals to help whatever may be going on in your life. So that's throughout the program, in different places. It's throughout the program. So, again, these are things that I believe can help. I'm not saying it is the answer. I'm saying it is an answer. Like, there's a lot of different things that we can bring to the table. This is just one of the things that, we're trying to bring to help in this endeavor, to really begin to help these same type of students you're talking about, those who feel like they don't have the help that they need at home. They don't know who to talk to. They may talk to a friend, but the friend may be going through the exact same that they're going to. So it's, they're not going to be giving them the best advice most of the time. And so to then have these resources, and then once again, have a program like this that is fluid. So even if you as a young adult, and you're seeing things in it, and you give a suggestion to me, and Everify, yeah, we're going to look into, hey, does that make sense to change that and make it this way, to be able to speak to these kids this way? You see what I'm saying? So that empowers the youth, I guess what I'm saying. It empowers you to know that your ideas and your thoughts, they matter, even in this. Like if they then give us something that then changes the way that we do things on this end, yeah, they're going to get a lot of credit. They're going to get credit for that. You see what I'm saying? So that's an inclusive thing. And so we're trying to include the parents as well. So that's why I really, 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 really pray that parents get on to do these things with them, so that they can see the benefits of it for themselves. So prayerfully, it'll get some of them, not all of them, but some of them out of that mindset that, what stays in the house, what goes on in the house stays in the house. What goes in the neighborhood, stay in the neighborhood. No, some of it is true. Yeah, there are some things that go in the house, stay in the house. But when it's traumatic stuff, that can't stay in the house. Because if it stays in the house, it stays in the kid and it never gets out. And the only time it gets out is in acting out. And that's what we don't want, right? That's what we don't want.
And it's amazing because you're not only providing an escape, but you're providing more of a loophole in a sense, because it's you don't want to really call it a solution because it can't be their specific solution, but you're giving them the right out that they need. And one thing that I'm very curious about, because obviously throughout your career, even how you carry yourself, is your faith. You're very founded by your faith, and I'm curious as to, obviously when did you get saved?
Well, I was so I knew about Jesus from a little cat, right? My dad is Catholic. My mom is Baptist. So that's kind of two different ends of the spectrum.
Oh, yeah.
So, I had a chance to either go to my mom's church with her or go to my dad's church. My dad's church for an hour. So my mom sometimes 3 hours, 2 hours. So which one we chose. I want to go to church with dad, right? So I knew about him. I knew who he was, but I didn't have a relationship with him. I didn't accept Christ into my life until my junior year in high school. It was when I first accepted Christ into my life. It was on Coach Stevens, my high school coach, brought out a good friend of his who was a pastor as well. He's a coach, but he was a pastor. And he was talking to us after practice, and he was asking the question that if you died and you got in the car right now, probably both have heard this. All of us have heard a version of this question. If you die right now, do you know where you're going to go? Right? And I didn't. He said, if you don't know, you know. That's what he said. So the first time I accepted Christ, it was kind of out of fear. Like, yeah, I'm going to go. So it wasn't a love thing. It was out of more fear than love. But I began to go to Bible study. I began to do things to help me grow in that area. When I met my beautiful wife, Connie, she took me to a holiness church. And that was the first time that I had ever seen, some of the gifts of the Spirit in operation. Just to not like spook people out, to see some of the things that the Bible talks about actually happening. And I had never seen that before being in a Catholic church. So I began to ask, I have questions about myself, like what else don't I know? Right. So I began to look into the word for myself. So that's another thing that I began to do, read the word for myself, go to Bible study. And so that's when my Christian life began to take off. But it wasn't until I got to the National Football League that during that dark time is when I stopped talking about being religious and talk about having a relationship with God, not doing ritualistic stuff. If you want to call something ritualistic, I pray every morning. I read every morning. I meditate every morning on the Word of God. If that's not ritualistic, that's relationship building. So I wanted a relationship with God. I didn't just want to be a Bible study goer. I didn't want to be a church goer only. I wanted my actions to actually line up with the sermons that I hear on Sunday, with the message that I taught preached and talked about in Bible study. I wanted my life to line up with that. And so that's what I charged myself and Troy Vincent in a cause conference we went to, and we got challenged as men. We weren't being the godly men that we were supposed to be. I know I've gone further into this than you're intended.
No, you're good.
No,
Good.
go.
But
Yeah.
I'm on board.
this is where we decided, and listening to some of the teachings of Dr. Miles Monroe at the time before he passed, that he was punching me in my stomach. He was punching me in my stomach about the man that I wasn't being. I didn't know what a man was, to be honest with you. I thought I did. I had no clue what a godly man was. And so then I began to study and recognize that I did not know. So I needed to study up on what is a godly man? I know what the world says a man is. A world says what we just talked about early on. Suck it up.
Yeah. Be tough.
Rub some dirt on it. Don't let nobody see you ever in pain. Ever. I don't care what's going on. Suck it up. Deal with it. No, that's not what the word of God talks about. So in doing that, I began to recognize how much emotionally I was not being available even to my wife, right? Because I'm tough. You gotta be tough. You gotta be gristled to be a man. No. So I had to change a lot about myself. It wasn't easy. It's taken a whole lot of time, and I'm yet still changing. But I know who I am as a man of God now. I know my responsibility for this household, the household that God has blessed me to have. I know that the relationship that I'm supposed to have with my girls is to show them the type of man that they should marry, right? Same thing with my son. My son should see in me how he treats his wife when he gets married, right? So that's what I'm supposed to be doing. So if I'm walking around here gristled all the time, never giving any emotion, then what are my girls going to think they need to marry? A dude who's gristled and never showing emotion. I don't want them to marry I just say that person. I don't want them to marry that. No. So this is how far this thing projects past just me. That's why I have to, read. I got my Bible right here on the desk with me. That's why I have to continue to read this thing and continue to allow it to change who I am so that I can continue to project the right light upon those who watch me. Not my kids are watching me, yes. My wife is watching me, yes. But yes, there are other people like yourselves. You have watched me at different times, right? So if I'm projecting things out from a negative perspective of this is what a man is, and you've looked up to me, what are you going to say? Yeah, I'm going to be like that. I'm going to try to be like that. Now, I don't want you to be, no. I want you to be like me, yes. But I pray that the things that I have been showing you are things that are righteous, that are upstanding. You know what I'm saying? How you deal with defeat, how you deal with losses, how you take responsibility for the things that you do wrong and not blaming other people for it, right? So these are the type of things that I want to make sure that I exude and they continue to be exuded to those who watch me. And I know that went way into
No, it's
another
perfect.
stratosphere, bro.
It
Definitely hear that, honestly.
Yeah, and it hits home for us because we're both fathers of girls. So it's we definitely want to show our girls the type of man, or person that they want to be with when they're older, and like you were saying, the ideal man, growing up was what you just said, like, flexing all the time, showing off their strength, showing off how deep their voice can be, this and that. But it's really, it's especially for what I've seen, especially for minority men, this is something that's like, you show any sort of emotion or any sort of soft spot, and then your man card, so to speak, is out the window. So everything that he said is definitely hit home. And have you seen in your time with this foundation, have you seen more minority men come up and talk to you, or a minority population? And how have you what advice have you given to these the people of color that have been like, I can't really talk to anybody because I haven't been raised like that.
I mean, a lot of the conversations that I have, to be honest with you, have been on DMs. If a person is really, really contemplating suicide, I always give them that hotline, reach out, and and try to convince them that they're worth it, that their future is worth it. You know, that you may not, the place that you're in right now is dark and it's very painful. I can dig it. I don't know exactly how yours is feeling, but I remember how mine felt. So I understand that. But I will tell them, just like I tell them in my messages a lot of times, is that had I listened to that dark voice, my 3 daughters would not be here. All 3 of them. None of them would be here, right? And then I wouldn't be here to talk to them about my life, right? So there's a reason why. Like, and so your future is worth that fight. It's worth pushing through that pain. And like I said in my Hall of Fame speech, on the other side of that pain, man, when you push through and you grow through, when you grow through different things, you are stronger on the other side. You really are. There's power on the other side when you push through those different things. And so each one is different, and I feel led to say different things to them. I don't always say the same thing, but usually that's pretty consistent. That like you're worth it. Your future is worth it. Call that help first. No, I'm not going to give you any advice right now. Yeah. Call that hotline first. When you call that hotline, then we can talk. But you call that hotline to get yourself a professional help if you got to that point where you're thinking about it that much, and then we can talk. Other than that, man, I send them to BrianDawkins.com. I have something that has a blueprint challenge, and that blueprint challenge has come. It came to existence because of the time that I went through during that second year, like rookie into that second year. During that dark period is when I knew I had to come up with something that was different than what I was doing. So after going through the therapy, after taking the medicine for a little while, I had to take some medicine for a little while. After doing those things, it's when I just said, Lord, I'm giving it all to you. I'm gonna stop doing some things, and either I'm gonna come to you or I'm gonna end it. That was my conversation with myself, and I said, I'm coming to you. So in doing that, I began to do things different. I began to, talk about things differently. I began to see things differently. And so what the medicine did for me is it helped me come down off my emotions so that my spirit, I can hear my inner voice a lot more. I was no longer hearing my emotions as the loudest voice in my head. My spiritual man began to speak up a lot louder during that time. So I went cold turkey on the medicine, which you're not supposed to do, but I went cold turkey on it. And I said, you know what, I'm dedicating my life to the Lord, and I'm living my life for him. And that's what I'm going to do. And so that's when I then went to the cause conference, like soon after that. And then, like I said, Miles punched me in the face of what the man I wasn't being. So that was another thing that helped me go to another level. So things began to go like real fast as far as me climbing to different levels spiritually in my life. And it just so happened that during that same time, I began to do leaps and bounds on the football field as well. So there's no coincidences, right? Nope, not a one. All of that stuff happened during the same exact time. So why did I go through all of that stuff then? Because I believe that though the enemy can't see the future, he can sense that there was something about me that God wanted to use me for. Because of, I don't know, but maybe because of the heart that I have. I don't know. But he was trying to stop this version of me from existing so that I would not have a foundation. So that I would not be talking to young men and young adults about mental health, about their walk with the Lord, encouraging people, blessing people with words, and on my Instagram and, the different things that I write as far as that is concerned, right? So that's why I say the things that you're going through right now, especially if you're going through a whole lot of stuff, man, like there's something powerful you're supposed to be doing at some point down the road. I really do believe that. The level of attack that you're facing, especially at young ages, man, he's trying to get you to shut up early so you won't be of any use, obviously, later on. So if he can get you to get in your head early, then you won't be able to do some of the things later, possibly later, especially if you choose to take your life, like far too many have done. Like I'm getting DMs from people who've lost their son, their daughters. Roommates have walked in and found them. Like that's no. We have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do something different than what we're doing. Doing the same thing over and over again is the definition of insanity, man. So, with this program, we're trying to do something different. It may be a little uncomfortable for some people, but I pray that it will open the eyes of many more to begin to speak about things, to help them out, and to help them think about the future. Think about the future. Not too far in the future that you're living there, no, but to look past where you are to see that there's something way out there. If you dream it, if you truly believe it, that you can truly achieve that thing. Like, I'm serious about this. I'm serious about this.
That's very admirable, because I mean, you're tackling, something as a necessity nowadays, and you're tackling with such high intellect as well as such high passion, and something I'm very curious about, because Brian Dawkins, when you think about Brian Dawkins, you think about the personality, the
entrances,
the energy, the Wolverine, Weapon X. I have to know, like, where does all the passion on and off the field just stem from? Like, and how do you keep that consistently going?
It's crazy now. This is going to sound very, very different. I won't say crazy, different. I'll just say different.
No holds barred. You're good.
I'm actually an introvert. Right. I love being like to myself, just chilling. I'm good. I don't need to be out. I don't need to be in the public eye. Everybody look at me. That's just not me. Like I'm actually 100%, not 100%, but I'll say 70% an introvert. But there's certain parts of me that there's a passion and an energy that's inside of me that I got to do something, right? Today, I have to work out. Like, I still work out to this day. I got to work out.
Mm-hmm.
I got to get in the gym. It's a lifestyle for me. I got to do something. And when I then tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to go 100 miles per hour into it. And I'm going to go hard at it. I don't care what if I give you my word, I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to pour my energy, all of it, into that. And so sometimes my energy and the way that I present it, people have, used the word passionate, because I am extremely passionate about something that I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to pour all my energy and my passion into it. It just so happens that the game of football allowed me to pour so much of myself on the field. It allowed me to free myself completely up to almost, I was still thinking, but it was almost to an animalistic side. I was able to release a lot of stuff out of myself and tap into areas of myself that I didn't even know existed, to be honest with you, some of the energy that I had. But I've always had that, even from little leagues. I was the kid that was going to cry if we lose every time. I don't care how many games we lost that year, I was going to cry every time. I didn't want to shake people's hands afterwards, like, don't touch me, that type of feeling. Mm-hmm. And I was a mean dude at times. So, like, I always have been dealing with that type of emotion, sometimes emotional roller coaster. I've gotten to the point in my life, and I was there as a player as well, that I recognize that energy is transferable. That the same energy that I can use in a bad way, I can use it in a good way. And when it came to anger, I had anger issues. That's something I didn't mention. I had anger issues because of some of the things that I had not dealt with in my life. I had anger issues. And so the Lord gave me this. He said that in water in its abundance, it destroys everything in its path. Think of a flash flood. Flash flood happens, it destroys everything. But when you put up a dam and you strategically open vents at the right time when that water comes, you get endless energy. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's how I begin to think about that, like the anger and the different. If I then channel it and focus it in the right direction, oh my goodness. Yeah, so now I'm getting extra energy. Now I got so much energy that the energy that I have is actually like leaping off on other dudes. because like I can't contain it all. I'm yelling in the locker room and people look at me, laugh, my teammates laughing at me and stuff like because they know I flipped that switch. I flipped that daggum switch. So now that energy is actually exuding off and it's jumping on my teammates. And then when I get to the stadium, now boom, me and the crowd are playing like a tennis match with the energy, the same energy. They get riled and get hype. I get hype. I go make a play and I pass that energy right back to them. So we playing tennis with energy. So I understood that more. And so once you begin to understand things, again, it's no longer problematic.
Mm-hmm.
I found some answers to some things through therapy, yes, but also through understanding energy even, that I begin to do things differently, experience life differently. And I began to appreciate that energy. At one time, I thought that I was like, I honestly at times thought I was weird. I thought I was strange. Like nobody else gets as hype as I get. Like, why? Like, is there something wrong with me? No, there's nothing wrong with me. That's just what God had blessed me with, right? And so, again, when you begin to take inventory over some of the things, some of your gift, what God has given you, it may be different from anybody else, things that you do, and you make it look easy. You know, everybody else struggle with it. Some of the stuff that I was doing was easy. The energy, me running full speed at the end of practice was easy for me, right? Doing conditioning. Everybody else is, I'm like, now don't get me wrong, I was still like, too, but I know I can get it, right? I know I was going to be one of the first dudes, if not the first dude, because I made up in my mind that I could do it, that I was going to do that. So some of this stuff is mental. And the other thing, like from a spiritual perspective, like I was just able to do things that were different. I don't want to get too long-winded on some of this stuff because I want to keep to the subject at hand as far as helping people. But, you know, for you to like, just understand, man, that like God has given us all different abilities, different skills. And when we recognize them and then we turn them back over to Him and ask Him how it is that we can use them, that's when that gift begin to truly take off, that you begin to truly bless others with. Like this voice that I have, this presence that I'm blessed to have, right? Like I have given that back to God. So that when He then has for these type of opportunities for me to share, I'm no longer sharing it by myself. I know that I'm being led to say different things to you about some of the things that I've gone through to strengthen you to look past your limitations, to push past your limitations. And then for those who are hurting or going through tough times, to see past where they now stand. That there's a life past where they exist. I never knew that I would be in a place, you know, be blessed to live in the places that I've lived or go to the places that I've gone. I never dreamed it. But what I didn't do, I didn't block myself off by saying those type of things can never happen to me. I didn't block myself off from them. I continued to work, keep my head down, and all of a sudden, boom, I find myself at different places at different times, being blessed to come before. The Bible talks about, you know, your gift will bring you before kings, right? Your gift, when you exercise your gift, you give it to God, it'll bring you before people in high position. That's what kings is, you know, people in high positions. And in that time, in those moments, like who will you then pretend to be? Will you really be you, or will you pretend to be somebody else? And it's in those challenges for me that I was 100% me, crazy, different passion and all. I'm trying to stop using crazy. Different passion and all. They look at me and I'll start talking, and that passion begins to come up, and I give it to them. I don't change who I am. This is who I am. I'm not going to change this for anybody. I don't care who I'm in front of. Could be I don't care. It could be anybody. President of the United States. I am who I am. I am who I am. I'm not going to change that. I'm very respectful. I'm respectfully bold with my faith, but I'm not going to change who I am. I'm 100% me. And I try my best to be 100% me 100% of the time.
That's absolutely incredible. You know, everything that you said, it resonates with us because obviously, you know, the fans saw you on the field, and they didn't see obviously the practices and the locker room, I'm sure people listening as soon as you said the word introvert, they're probably gonna say, oh,
It kind of blew my mind for a second. I'm not like, because I'm
they're probably all like, hell no. This is good. But like, it's incredible, you know, just the way you channel your energy and the whole, you know, the damn perspective that you just put, you know, hit me, you know, pretty hard because I've been one to kind of let my anger out all at once or my energy out all at once. But like envisioning a dam and just like letting things go like a little bit at a time is definitely something that I'm going to keep for myself because it'll help me. You know, it's you know, I've always been one to like not really overreact to things that don't need my overreaction. My wife tells me like you're too calm about things. I'm calm about things because it's just I need to be calm about it. There's nothing to, you know, overreact to. I'll react to something that needs my reaction. So it's because I try to save my energy for things that really need it. And that's something, you know, your damn perspective is something that definitely I'm going to stay with me. And, you know, with the way, you know, going back to your rookie year and the way that you felt, did anything of that come back when you realized that you weren't going to stay in Philadelphia anymore? When you were going off to Denver?
You talking about the struggles?
How was your mental state like when you realized that, you know, the team that you gave everything to, that it wasn't interested in re-signing you, they didn't make an effort to do that, and they just wanted they were fine with letting you go to Denver?
Yeah, that was painful. I mean, it was extremely painful when you give as much as I had given in so many areas, man, and wasn't looking for pats on the back with it. Like a lot of the stuff I was genuinely doing because I cared. I cared for my teammates. I cared for my coaches. You know, I cared for the organization. I cared for the city. Like I just cared. So I wasn't looking for specific pats on the back. But when, you know, things happen the way they happen with the contract, like that really hurt. Like I really, really, really felt disrespected. Yes, but no, just really hurt. And so, you know, when I had to leave, I got some advice from people that I trust. And one of them was my big brother, Troy Vincent. And he gave me a talk about some of the other greats in their different cities that had to go on to play other places, whether that be Jerry Rice, whether that be Ronnie Lott, who was cat that I looked up to, and others. And, you know, he was telling me that, and Ronnie, a lot of talk to him. He was like, look at this as an opportunity to help or bond with a new group of teammates. And so, in listening to Troy tell me that it's better to be appreciated and tolerated, that hit me. I said, okay, you're right. And so when I went to Denver during that time, for the first couple of months, man, and I know this now, for the first month especially, like I was really going through like a grieving process. Like I was very emotional during that time. I really, really was. But I knew I had to be everything that I could be for my new teammates, for my new family. They brought me here for a specific reason. And it is my job to go out and give them everything that I have every day, from a leadership standpoint, from a playing on the field standpoint, from a community standpoint. I'm going to give them everything that I had. And that's what I did. Painful, still was painful. And I had been given one of the greatest tools that you can use to your advantage. And that is, I've been disrespected. And so it was my duty to make sure that my play and who I was as a person spoke so loud, I didn't have to say nothing about the mistake that they made, they being the Eagles. So when I went to Denver, that was my mindset. that when I get there, I'm going to train in such a way, I'm going to play in such a way that you're going to recognize and you're going to 100% understand that you made one of the worst decisions you've ever made in letting me leave out of that building. So that helped me tremendously in that training, in that mindset when I went to Denver to be everything that I could be for the Broncos. And so that was my mindset. That was what I was going through during that time.
I'm not gonna lie, I got a little chills during that. Like I felt bad, like I was the one that let you go. I'm not gonna lie.
We were only like freshmen in college at that
Thank
time.
God, right?
It wasn't us. Don't worry about it.
So 13 years in Philly. We have to know, what is your favorite game in Philadelphia?
Man, my favorite game in Philly was when we beat Atlanta to go to the Super Bowl.
Does Algie Crumpler talk to you anymore, or because I'm sure he's still, I'm sure he still has a headache.
Man. Like he's actually a good dude too, man. He has to live with that for the rest of his life. But you know, it's one of those things that people don't understand if you don't know the history of that. I think we had lost 3 at that point, NFC Championship games. So to finally get past that one, to get to the Super Bowl, man, that was the game that I will always remember. You know, to see Andy and the late great Jim Johnson with tears in their eyes, you know, hugging me, hugging their family, saying, "Dawk, we did it." Like, man, I'll never, ever, 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 ever forget that. That'll be something I always remember. So that's the number one game that I will say. That's the number one game.
Speaking of the late great Coach Johnson, how was it like playing for him? As such a great defensive coordinator, what was it like being taught by him?
Well, Jim was phenomenal in breaking down pass defense and anticipating what they're going to be in once we get into a specific front, what the blocking scheme is going to be. And so from my vantage point, what he then did is he began to use a safety to run the defense through. So the safety, the defense a lot of times ran through me. So people don't really understand that. And that was not something that is common. It still is not common to this day.
Yeah, I've never
just don't do that.
It's always the mic. It's always the mic.
Yeah. So, but because of the skills that I've been blessed with, you know, my ability to blitz, my ability to cover specific things that we would do, he would come up with different game plans for me to attack specific weaknesses in the opposing team. So, but I love playing for Jim. But it wasn't just me. So if you look at it, everybody got their turn to have success in that defense. If you can play, he's going to find a way to get you in the right position. And it's up to you to then make the play. But he knew in me that I had the ability to specific things that I can do, timing blitzes. I was kamikaze when it comes to, you know, getting to the quarterback a lot of the times, doing whatever it takes, whether it be going through somebody, over somebody. He knew that I was going to do that. So he would call my name a lot of times in the fourth quarter. That's why I made a lot of big plays in the fourth quarter. Not all of them, but a lot of the times it's because Jim trusted in me and he called my number. Then it was up to me to make the play. So, you know, Jim, he was not a very patient dude, though. When it comes to certain cats, like he was more patient with me. But from a lot of cats, man, he wasn't a very patient cat. And he did not always use the cleanest of language. I just say it like that. You could not mic Jim. You would hear boo, 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 the whole time. Love him to death, though. Love him to death.
That's amazing to hear.
What was, during your time, what was the hardest part about playing in a city like Philadelphia? Nothing?
I honestly didn't have a hard time playing in Philly, because the times that we were struggling, and when we were losing, and there were a lot of boos coming from the stadium, we were losing, so we deserved it. So I felt bad. I felt bad myself. I didn't need for anybody else to get on me or tell me that I'm not, we weren't having success, to know that we weren't having success. Like I'm harder on myself than anybody else can be on me. Sometimes that's a detriment, though. See, so it's a balance there. So yeah, my thing was always to just work hard, put your head down and go, give it the best you got. Don't be a repeated offender. Don't do the same stupid stuff over and over and over again. If I make that mistake, I'm going to take responsibility for it, and you won't see me make that mistake again. I will make sure. I may make another mistake, but I'm not going to make that mistake. So that's how I tried to carry myself. And so I think that, the fans recognize that. That's why we, click so well. I may not be the flashiest of dudes the way that I played the game. I was more of a grunt type of a player. Wasn't a whole lot. It wasn't always flashy stuff that I did. It was a lot of grunt work that I did, and I believe that fans really bought into that.
So, obviously, the whole pandemic going on right now in the country. What has Brian Dawkins has been doing during quarantine? Have you been solely focused on the foundation and growing that, from Jacksonville to Philly, and then hopefully to Clemson as well?
So during this time, one of the first things that I was given in my prep time during this time is to spend quality time. And when I say that, that means I'm spending quality time in the Word. I've been reading a whole lot more. I've been spending quality time with my family, making sure that I'm spending time with them. But I've been spending quality time also writing, doing more journaling, looking up different aspects of what my foundation is doing and how we can reach more from a mental standpoint. Studying up on more of the mental aspect of how your brain operates. I've been studying up on some of those things a lot more. So this time has been very beneficial, to be honest with you, for me to stay, not have to be going anywhere, that I can then dive into different areas that I wanted to grow in, different areas that I may have been lacking in, that I wanted to grow in. And so that's one of the things that I was challenging people this whole time. Like, make sure you're spending that time building you up, different parts of you. And so the part of you from a mental standpoint, like, what books are you reading? I'm reading different books now, you know what I'm saying? Like, not just the Bible, but it's other books that I'm reading as well during this time. Focusing in on trying to build my knowledge, right? From a emotional standpoint, how am I growing there? Am I spending quality time with my family? Am I doing things with them, or are we just always in our separate little rooms doing our own thing? Now, we got to come together to do some things as well, doing devotions and stuff like that with them. So, like, I've been very purposeful on spending that quality time during this time, because I believe and I know that this won't last forever. It won't. And when this is over with, many of us will go back to being very, very busy, not having time to do things that we probably would have loved to be doing to build ourselves up. Maybe it's another job or another degree or something to that effect that you didn't have time to do, but now you have time to begin to study up on some stuff. Not specifically paid stuff. I'm talking about study up on some things to make you that more hireable once this thing is over with, right? So that's what I've been doing. I really have been purposeful and mindful of growing through this thing, not just going through it, but growing through it.
Now, going back to your coaches, obviously your old head coach, Andy, is a Super Bowl champion now. What was your feeling when you saw him finally hoist that trophy up?
I was elated, and I was like tears of joy for him. And finally see Big Red get him a ring, well-deserved, phenomenal human being. Has gone through a whole lot as a coach, yes, but as a man, as a family man. He's going through a whole lot. But he's blessed so many young men. He's helped so many men out. One of the reasons that Nick Foles even came back to football is because of Andy Reid. Nick was like, I'm done. I can't play this game. I don't love it anymore. And he said, no, come on, just come back to Kansas City with us. So going back to Kansas City allowed Nick to fall back in love with the game of football. Then we get Doug Peterson, who was one of Andy's coaches, who then convinces Nick to come to Philadelphia to help seal the deal, to finish, to win us a Super Bowl here. So that's Andy Reid, man. That's the type of dude Andy is. And you hear so many of his former players talk about him with the same loving kindness that I and respect that I do, because he's a quality human being. Quality human being.
Yeah, all the Philadelphia's rooting for him.
Yeah, 100%. You know, it was incredible to finally see him do that. It pains me to say that's going to be his only one, because he's going to have to go through the Eagles. He's going to have to go through the Eagles from now on. You know,
that cat he got a quarterback, bro. And then that lightning bolt he got outside. Well, actually, 3 lightning bolts they got outside.
They got a whole lightning storm out there.
I mean, that's a whole lot now. Like, and I'm not. There's no guarantee that it's. Put it this way: there's no guarantee that's his first, and that's no guarantee. Well, excuse me, that's his only, and there's no guarantee that is his last. Right?
Very true.
Like I said, the cast that they have there is going to be tough. Put it this way, to beat them.
Well, obviously the Eagles are going to be facing them, right?
Yeah. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one if that happens.
Phenomenal to see. And speaking of the Eagles facing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, you actually were a very critical part to the 2017 run. I mean, you were in charge of player development at the time, so you actually got to be a part of the parade and even hoist the trophy. I mean, how did it feel to come back to Philly when it's all said and done, on the other side of the sideline, in a sense?
Man, that whole time was something that I never saw coming. First of all, I never saw myself ever doing that, going behind and going back to Philadelphia and to doing anything to that degree. That was something I prayed about. I felt led to do it, and I did it. And to be able, and I wasn't over player development. That was just something that I was allowed, that I was open and freed up to do. Like the position that I had really had no boundaries. I could pretty much do a lot of things in the building, have different conversations with a lot of different people in the building. I was freed up, and a lot of times I spent that time speaking and helping with some of the players and some of the things they've gone through in their lives. And so this also goes to the conversation of helping people see past their pain or their past, right? And recognizing something in themselves that they don't yet see, and helping them then bring that to the forefront to be used. And so when you are transparent, I believe you connect on a higher level to help people out. So when I give of myself and I tell people some of the things that I've gone through in my life, it allows us to connect. And then we then talk about things on another level. And once we talk about things on the other level, then there's another level for them to see that they maybe can get to if they dial in and do things differently from suggestions. And when they do that, they then achieve that. And then we continue to have those type of conversations. Cats begin to grow and grow. And what happens is, I talked about the energy being transferable. When that is woken up in me and I'm playing from this level and thinking from this level, guess what I then do with that information? I then talk to my teammate. And I begin to help them see maybe what's in them that they need to let go of in order to achieve another playing level for themselves. So now we have a mindset change, a mindset growth that then activates and stimulates growth in their physical as well. So I say all of that to say that is what happened during that time. A lot of cats grew up. A lot of cats grew up. A lot of accountability was brought back into that building to a high degree, and that's what it needed, accountability amongst themselves. They had to develop that for themselves. They had to, first of all, see that it is needed. And it's hard for you to have conversations with people during good times.
Right.
It's extremely difficult. I'm not saying you can't. It's extremely difficult. But when you're losing, and you're in that first year, you're losing a whole bunch of games, I think like 6 games in the fourth quarter, When you do that, that's painful.
Right.
So now we can have tough conversations on what needs to happen. And so as these young men began to see that and begin to change some of the way that they did things, held accountability, begin to do things at a different level, the organization began to do things differently for those who weren't playing in anticipation for them to play. So then when they then had to play, once the starters got hurt, there was not a huge drop off, right? So now we're doing things from a different perspective, different way. And then Super Bowl year, that's what happened. All that stuff began to just fall into place. All that preparation ahead of time, communications ahead of time began to allow those young men to go out and do exactly what they did. They bonded together, became one collective heartbeat, brought Philly the first championship since 1960, I believe it is.
Yep. That was
very long drought.
Yeah. No, phenomenal. Loved it. But, and someone told me that, that was kind of a precursor for me about the things that I would be doing going forward to different people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like helping people see things about themselves. Some people call it life coaching to that nature, but to help people see past, again, their pain, help people see past their situations to something that's already inside of themselves they don't yet see. They do not yet see. There's things in myself I had to believe Emmett Thomas until I can see them for myself. So I had to believe in his vision of me. He had a vision of Brian Dawkins. He said that, you are, he mentioned Ronnie Lott in the same sentence as me, my rookie year. And I was like, Ronnie Lott, come on, man. And he was like, no. But Ray Rose did this. Ray told me that. I was like, come on, man. You talking about Ronnie Lott, man. But what I did is I believed in their vision of me until I could see it for myself, right? And once I began to see some of the things that I was doing and saw what they was talking about, I was like, wow, I really can do it at this level. I'm not saying I did it higher and better than Ronnie, but I'm saying I could do it at a high level. So sometimes that's what you have to do and help people, help them to see the vision that you have, that you see in them. And they have to trust in you enough to believe in the vision that you see in them until they can see it for themselves. All right. And I'm not saying, hoping that wasn't too crossed up, but that's a powerful formula. Powerful formula.
Absolutely. And we saw it firsthand. That formula led to the drought being over. And
joyously.
Yes, absolutely.
Joyously.
Now, just a side note, we obviously Eagles fans are everywhere, absolutely everywhere. We might get overwhelmed by the Cowboys fans and the Giants fans, especially Brian and I are in New Jersey, so we have, but we do have a contingent of a very large, we live in northern New Jersey, central New Jersey area, and anybody who's an Eagles fan around this area, they all congregate in Hoboken, New Jersey. I'm just telling you, you have huge fans in Hoboken. They are called the Philadelphia Eagles Club of Hoboken, and they just want to share their appreciation for you. And they donated some money to the foundation.
Thank you, appreciate you, brother, appreciate you.
They love you down there. As we wrap up, as like final thoughts, you have these 4 pillars, the attitude, the reaction, the effort, and the actions. Can you talk to that and kind of, close with our fans and how they can use those 4 pillars to attack their daily lives and lead to, a better mental health?
Absolutely. So you've probably heard someone say, control the controllable. Have you ever heard that before?
Yeah.
Control the controllable. Controlling the controllable for me, has become this. I've called this is my area. This is my area of control. My area of control. First one is my attitude. It's my attitude. It's how I want to present myself when I walk into a situation. It's my attitude. I don't want to be a dry person. I want to be an upbeat person. I want to be a thermostat for a situation. I don't want to be a thermometer. I don't want to change with the temperature of the room. I want to help change the temperature of the room if I can. If things are too heated, I want to try to bring that thing down. If things are too flat and hey, what can we do to bring this energy back up? I want to be that. I want my light to shine that way. So that's the attitude I want to exude into anything that I'm a part of, right? My reactions. I can't control how people say what they do, but I do control how I then respond. That's completely up to me. And the thing that I have said that I will never use as an excuse anymore is, oh, they just push my buttons. Nope. You pushed that last button. They may have been saying some stuff, but it was you who pushed that last button to say, I'm going to say this or I'm going to do that. It's yours. I take ownership of it. And when it comes to reacting, I have been putting a whole lot of thought into the fact that when you talk about being disrespected or offense, being offended, we usually say it in this light, like you got to take offense. That means offense is out there. It's not a part of you. It's out there. You have to reach out and take offense. So I've decided I'm going to leave offense right where it is. I don't have to take, as long as if you put your hands on me, that's different. Now we having a different conversation. But if you haven't put your hands on me, I don't have to take that offense. You can offer it up to me. I don't have to take it. So that's a part of me. That's a part of my discipline as a person, that I don't have to go down that nonsensical path of arguing about something foolish. No, thank you. I'll stay right where I am. You can have that offense, keep it to yourself, and I'll go on about my day and have a blessed one. My actions. I don't want to be an actor. I want my actions to speak loud. I want my character to speak loud. I said this in a couple of different interviews that have been on TV, and says that the life that I live the life that I live should be the best sermon that I ever preach. Matter of fact, I don't know if you can see that up there. It kind of comes from this quote: "You can preach a better sermon with your life than you will with your lips." So that's what my actions should be. My actions and my character should speak so loud that you, as a friend of mine or a foe of mine that knows me, that there's certain things you won't come up to me and ask, can we do together, that you know is wrong. Because my character and my actions speak so loud that you'll be like, let's go ask Dawk. No, we just don't need to ask Dawk. We know he ain't gonna do it. That's because my character is speaking loud. That's because my actions speak so loudly. All right. And then my effort. When I go, I talked about it earlier, I go 100%. I go, if I say I'm going to do something, we're going to do it 100%, and we're going to go full speed with it. As a football player, a lot of times they don't know if a play works if everybody is not going 100%. Like if they run an offensive play and it doesn't work, but not everybody was doing the right thing, or everybody wasn't hustling, they don't know if the play will work or not because you weren't going 100%. So I want my effort to be such a quality that people, when they see me, they know what to expect. That my effort is going to be on point. If I give him an assignment, a job, a speaking engagement, that he's going to be prepared and he's going doggone bring it, right? So I also speak about things into this term, that I always want to be a pullback player and person in life. A pullback player and person in life says this, that you should never have to tell me to speed up, only slow down. So you should never have to tell me to speed up, finish, make sure you double check your work, You should never have to tell me to speed up. You should only have to tell me to slow down. So if I'm going about life in this way, and that's my area of concern, everything else outside of that, what people are doing, what people are saying, the thoughts they have towards me, the things that they're saying about me, I'm not going to spend any energy on that. I'm not going to waste my time taking offense. You can have that offense. I'm going to continue to live my life a specific way. I'm going to continue to respond a specific way. My character is going to speak loud for me. I don't have to use my words as much as some people have to. If I'm doing things in that way, then my blood pressure won't be skyrocketing. I won't be stressed out all the time. I won't be worried all the time. And the other thing that I will say that kind of goes with that is I'm also a very huge proponent in prayer. So anything that is not in that area, I'm praying about. Mm-hmm. If I can't control it in this area, I'm praying about it. So in both instances, I'm covered. I'm covered. And if you use this and you go about doing it the way that I just explained it, I believe it will bless you and your family, to be honest with you. I really do believe that.
Can I just say this is probably my favorite podcast of all time? Like, can we just put that out there? I mean, like, not even we didn't really talk football. I mean, it's great to talk football, but just to hear you, like,
just to hear everything.
Not only just speak from what you know, but you're speaking from your heart with everything you're saying, and that's admirable. I mean, that
right.
It's my favorite podcast of all time.
Yeah, it's something. It's again, like it's one thing to watch you as a player, but to hear you as a person and everything that you've done and has gone through, it's given us that much more of an admiration for you as as a person. We thank you so much for joining us. And
absolutely.
In the 2 weeks that we were promoting this podcast and trying to get fundraising for your foundation to bring to the Philly schools, I know we've raised at least $550.
Oh, appreciate it
for your foundation, and it's it's our promoting, but it was the Eagles fans that love you so much, so they did the donating and the asking of questions and all that. So I know we all love you. We all thank you, so absolutely. much for everything.
Yeah. And this was that type of thing, though. We were getting deep. It wasn't I didn't feel like that this was a absolute lighthearted conversation. I felt that the material was so deep to go down and to talk about some things that I truly believe will bless people, man. That truly will bless people. And when I say bless people, like, because I'm thinking the way that I'm thinking, because of the things that I have gone through in my life, and I handle things the way that I handle them now, my kids should be thinking about things from a way different level than I did when I was growing up. Right? And that's not just a monetary thing. It's a mindset thing. It's a mindset thing. It's a spiritual thing, and it's a mindset thing. So I've seen how, especially a man in a household, when he makes that decision to truly recognize, understand what a man really is, a godly man really is, that changes generations. That changes, it cuts off and it cancels generational curses, and it begins to have a legacy that grows. I'll give you this last thing before we get off. It is my vision that, how in some of the older movies, the old movies that they had, a family gather around and they have a picture of this old cat with a cane, and they're gathered around talking about grandpa, pop such and such, right? It's because of him and his dedication that we are where we are as a family. So we owe such and such to great grandpa pop. That's what I envision. That because of great grandpa Brian Dawkins Sr., we as this Dawkins side have gone down this lineage this way with this mindset, with this spiritual aptitude, right? So that's when I get up in the morning and I'm doing my praying, my meditating, and my journaling. I'm thinking from that perspective. Well, how can I live my life with the gifts God has given me to explore every opportunity that I can, to step out in faith in a whole bunch of areas so that I can spread as much joy, peace, positivity, knowledge, wisdom as I can while I'm on this side. while I'm yet on this side. And so whether that be the way that I play the game, the way that I approach the game, the way that I live my life in faith, the way that I build my mental aptitude by some of the things that I study, some of the things that I do. And I didn't talk about the Blueprint Challenge. The Blueprint Challenge that I discussed earlier, I didn't tell you the details of it. So the details of it is this. You wake up in the morning, I pray, read, and meditate. I told you that. I give myself at least 20 minutes to do that. Hour per hour, the challenge is to set on your phone to give thanks once per hour, just to give thanks. And so during that time, you take a pause if you can and say, just thank you. Thank you for life. Thank you for health. Thank you for the job. Thank you for whatever it is you can give, you can think about. So you're coming back to gratitude is what you're doing. You're allowing gratitude to rise back up. So when you leave the house, you're telling yourself in the morning in your journal time what you're going to do that day. You've already done your push-ups. I missed that. So you do your push-ups, to do a couple of sets of push-ups to failure. Do some sit-ups and some planks if you want. But when you leave out of the house, what you're doing, you're saying, this is the type of energy I'm going to exude today. So before you walk into your business or school, before you walk in, you take a pause and you say, boom, this is the energy that I'm going to exude when I walk through this threshold. And then once per hour, when you're giving thanks, you're also checking that energy. Am I still in that energetic state that I said I was going to be in, right? Now, at the end of the day, you're going to then journal down 3 things that you noticed were absolute blessings. So it's maybe a specific thing, the car almost cut you off and you didn't get hit. You had a wonderful conversation with a coworker that, or you helped this young lady, open the door for her. Just different thing. It could be anything, right? Once again, you're talking about gratitude. And then right before you go to bed, you are to get back into that mindset of reading, meditating. And if you want, you can journal again. But the first thing you do in the morning is stay away from this unless you're reading devotions off of it. You're not checking emails. You're not checking Twitter. You're not checking social media. None of that. Same thing at night. Right before you go to bed, at least 20 minutes before you go to bed, you're not checking emails. You're not checking Twitter. No social media, nothing. If you do that, if you do that, and it says it takes anywhere from 20 to like 30 days to create a new habit. If you do that for 20 days, 30 days, and it becomes a habitual, now you can change some things around. You don't have to do everything exactly the way that I said it. But if you use that blueprint and you do that, there's no guarantees ever in life, but I will tell you, there's a great percentage of the time that you will experience life differently. You will begin to see things differently. There will be a more positive upswing in your life that you will notice on a continuous basis. Not saying trouble was going to come, because trouble will always come in all of our lives. But I truly believe that you'll begin to recognize the blessed things in your life more often. And I believe more blessed things will then come into your life because you're recognizing them in the first place. You're not so constantly talking about the negative things that are happening in your life. You're more focused on the good things because per hour, once again, you're giving thanks. You're being thankful. You're being thankful. So that's the Blueprint Challenge. So that's what I give people that are going through tough times, that are in very dark places, to start, to try that, to do that. And then we can talk later on of how that has blessed them.
That's amazing.
But check it out. BrianDawkins.com is where it is. It's in its totality, and you can read it in detail for yourself.
That's really amazing.
Yeah.
I'm just blown away by everything. I'm still soaking everything in still.
It's all good, man. It's all good. I know we've been on here for a while too, though.
No, it's great. It's phenomenal. I wish we could keep you all night, but you have a family to go to.
No, we really were so appreciative that you could come on with us and spend so much time with us. It hasn't even felt like it's been this as long as it has been so far. Good. I mean, that means we were in the flow, right?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
So Eagles fans, this is our year anniversary podcast.
Yeah. Congratulations too, man.
We appreciate that.
Congratulations, y'all. Congratulations.
And then next week we're skipping Tuesday. We're Wednesday because it's
Oh yes, it's my daughter's birthday.
Brian's daughter's third birthday next Tuesday.
Yes.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So
Look forward to that.
Eagles fans, we'll talk to you when we talk to you. We're gonna just take this all in right now.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Y'all be blessed, man. And
You too, Brian.
congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
All
for
right,
coming
brother.
on.
All right.
That was Brian Dawkins. And in a I don't want to say rare form, because if you follow Brian, you see the inspirational quotes, you see the inspirational talks, but in a unique form on Flipping the Birds. I mean, we're not usually have these kind of deep talks, but the past couple of weeks we've tackled what's been going on in America. We've tackled cerebral wellness now.
Right. And everyone's seen that we've been trying to show the person over the player, and we got down to who the Brian Dawkins the person is today. And we hope that you stuck with us throughout this whole hour and a half or so that this pod has been today. It's just, as you saw, like as he just said, it flowed. We were just talking with him and getting deep with him. I honestly can't tell you that I ever thought one of my deepest conversations I would ever had in my lifetime would have been with Brian Dawkins.
And it was a very deep conversation. It was phenomenal, man. I'm sorry, I don't know how to end this podcast, but
you know what? We'll talk to you next week.
Yes, we'll talk to you sometime next week.
Go Birds.
Yes, sir.